Namaste and welcome to this channel dedicated to the exploration of spiritual wisdom and the study of self-knowledge. Thus spake Kanchi is an engaging and thought-provoking spiritual podcast series that delves into the subject of self-realization. Discover the newest books to our collection, The Heart of Everything and the Magnum Opus Abhinavavijam, both penned by the gifted author Kanchi. If you'd like to read the books, then check out the description down below. It has everything you need to know. Happy reading, and welcome to Tapas.
There are a few very primordial questions, most important questions we ask ourselves. Who am I? Where did I come from? What is my purpose? Where am I going? Why am I here? So, of all these questions, the most important one is, who am I? Only when you know who you are can you answer the other questions. Why am I here? Where did I come from? What is my purpose? Where am I going? So the basic, the most important thing, or the thing that is the same in all these questions is I. Where am I going? Where did I come from? What is my purpose? It has all something to do with I. So if you don't understand what is this I, then it's very difficult to answer any other questions in life. How do you find solutions? How do you know what you want to do? How do you know anything at all? Because if you don't know who you are, then nothing makes sense. Nothing makes perfect sense. Only when you know who you are can you answer all of the questions. When you know who you are, can you solve all of the problems. When you know who you are, you can find what you really want, and you can figure out ways how to get it, maybe. So the most important thing is, who am I? And this is a question we seldom ask ourselves. We always ask ourselves, what do you want? What do we want? What do I want? How do I get it? So these questions come later. And the reason you're not happy, the reason you don't find satisfaction, peace, is because you're getting some things. You're reaching out to things without knowing your own true state. So only when you know who you are can you go out there and get things for this I. So who am I? Who am I? Let's find out. So the first question, the first thing that comes to our mind is, I'm this body. This is me. This body, this combination of mind and body and spirit. We all say these things. That, I am this person. I'm such a person. This is my name. But we all know you're not the name. Whatever, you could be John, Jack, anything. It does not matter. By changing the name, you don't change. Right? The name can change. The name changes, it's not like you change. So we know it. Name is just something you call this person. Water is not actually water. Water is water no matter what else you call it. In all languages we call it by different names. The principles of water don't change. In the same way, the name has no bearing on who you actually are. So then we come to the form. And the form is in the form of a body, the 4 limbs, 2 eyes, nose. Are you the nose? No. You have a nose. Are you the arms? No. You have arms. Are you your toes? No. Are you your eyes? No. Are you the heart? No. Are you the fingers? No. So when individually you're none of these, how can you be the body when you add up all these things? You know what I mean? You're not the fingers, you're not the toes, you're not the skin, you're not your blood. So one thing is very certain, that we are not the body. The body is made up of 7 dhatus. In the Vedic culture, in Ayurveda, we have something called the dhatus. Dhatus are tissues in the body. They are the plasma, blood, muscles, fat, bone, marrow, nerve, and semen. The reproductive tissues. So basically, there are 7 tissues. Broadly, they're divided in Ayurveda. So you're not the dhatus, right? You're not the tissues in the body. Even if you add up all the tissues, you're not the tissues, right? So first thing is, we're not the 7 dhatus. We're not the body. So you can come to an understanding that yes, I am not the body, because body is made up of the 7 dhatus. And what else is the body made up of? It is made up of air, right? It is made up of the 5 pranas. Pranas are the life force that runs this body. So pranas, we have 5 pranas. One is prana, vyana, samana, udana, and apana. So vyana is in charge of circulation of blood and energy in the body. Udana is the prana needed for speech. Samana is that prana which helps digest the food. So samana is the digestive fire that keeps the digestive fire going. It's called Jatara Agni also. So this is the fire that digests all your food. If this fire is not strong, there is problem with digestion. Anyway. And then apana is in charge of excretion. So you're burping and you're passing out the gases, and then excretion, any form of urination, anything. So this energy is apana. And then the mukhya prana, the main prana, is responsible for beating of the heart and the actual breathing itself. So it's one life force, one energy, or one vital air in the body, which can be divided into these 5 parts. But which prana are you? Are you the prana? Right? Though we call it the life force, it is that which sustains life. So when a breath leaves the body of a human being, it does not come back. He is said to be dead. Alright? But is the life force itself the person? Is the air itself you? The air you breathe? It sustains the body. But it is not you. You are something separate. Like you breathe in, you inhale, and the air enters your body, remains there for a brief period of time, and then it leaves the body. So there is a brief moment where there is no air in the body, so to say, and the exhalation happens. So you don't cease to exist, you still exist regardless of that. So the air that comes and goes is independent of you, or you are independent of these 5 airs, the pancha pranas. So we are not the 7 dhatus, we are not the 5 pranas. What comes next? The 5 cognitive sense organs. Are you the 5 cognitive sense organs? The sense of hearing, the sense of touch, sight, taste, and smell. And they have their own corresponding objects such as sound, touch, color, taste, and odor. But you're not that. You hear sounds, you touch things, you see color, you taste different foods, and you can smell different things. The sense of smelling itself is not you. You smell things, you taste things, you see things, you touch things, you hear things. But you are independent of all these things. Independent of the 5 cognitive senses and their corresponding sense objects. And also the tools such as eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin. You're none of these. They arise in you and subside in you. So they're not the seven dhatus, the five pranas, or the five cognitive sense organs. Then we must be the mind, right? It is that machine that runs this whole body. What is that mind? What is that concept? What is that the central processing unit, right? What is that intelligence that runs this body? We call it the mind. And in the Vedas, they have divided the mind also into four mental elements, so to say. Different aspects of the same mind. It's buddhi, or the intellect, ahankara, which is the ego, which we are all very familiar with, the chitta, the memory capsule, and the manas. Manas is what we call the mind, the organ of attention or the temporal awareness. So what is the buddhi actually? It is that intelligence, it is that intellect which determines what is what. So suppose you see an orange, you know it is a fruit. So it is the intelligence which, the intellect which computes this thought that this is the orange. It's orange in color, tastes a certain way. And using the memory capsule, the chitta. So you have prior memory of this orange, and it is all stored in that memory capsule called the chitta. That is the storehouse of past impressions. So based on the chitta, the buddhi comes to a conclusion and says, this is the orange. Right? And when you come to an objective analysis, obviously all these things happen in a split second. But when the mind computes and the intellect determines this is an orange, the ego comes into place. And the ego says, do I like this orange? Do I not like this orange? And it's also the subtle ego which says, I see this orange. I comes in. That is the ahankara of the ego. I am. I love this orange. I hate this orange. I would like to eat this orange. I would like more of this orange. So it kicks in. This comes in slightly later. And then there is the manas. The manas is the organ of attention, as I said. It is the temporary awareness. It is that awareness that arises and falls. And in this screen of mind, all these things happen. So you can say the manas is like a blanket on which all is the buddhi, ahankara, chitta, all these things play their games. So the mind is the encompassing faculty that computes everything. So which one are we? Are we the intellect? The ego? The intellect kicks in and then it disappears again. So you exist even when the intellect does not exist. Like a child. In the child, the intellect is not yet sharpened. So even when the intellect does not exist, the child does not know it is an orange. But still the child exists and still enjoys the experience of being alive. Even without the intellect. In deep sleep, there is no intellect. But you still exist. So of course we can say that we are not the buddhi, I am not the intellect. And then the memory capsule. When you wake up in the morning, sometimes there is a split second when you don't know who you are, when the world has not arisen in you. You don't really compute, you don't really understand who you are, in what form you exist. So there is a split second before the entire world descends on you, when you wake up suddenly, or when you're having a hearty laugh. That split second you forget everything. Or when you're shocked, or in a state of deep panic. There are certain stages, when suddenly the world does not exist for you mentally. So the chitta, you can say, the memory capsule is momentarily not existing for you, but you still exist, right? And in the same way, the ego, we all know the ego appears and disappears continuously. If you actually examine your breath, you will see that with every incoming breath, the ego arises. And with every outgoing breath, the ego disappears. With every outgoing breath, when you're not breathing, the ego, for a split second, for a few, maybe few moments, it cannot raise its ugly head. Ego is synonymous with the breath. So it arises and then dissipates. It arises and dissipates. But because of the memory capsule of who we think we are and what we think the world is, the ego reappears in a similar form that you are comfortable or you are familiar with. The ego does not exist in deep sleep. The ego again does not exist in many times in your life. For a moment, it does not rise its ugly head. Again, when you're really happy, then there is a sense of deep gratitude, when there is a sense of deep joy. When you forget the world and just laugh and just dance, or you're in the zone, so to say. There are many moments like this when the ego does not exist, but you still exist even without ego. So we can come to a conclusion that we are not the mind, I am not the mind, or its different aspects. I am not the buddhi, I am not the ahankara, I am not the chitta, or the manas. It is not difficult to come to a conclusion, but we need to meditate on this and we need to deeply dwell on these ideas and actually think, is there any truth in this? How do I, without doubt? And this is not something that you need to understand intellectually. This is something you can experience with, direct experience. You don't need anyone to show you where your mind exists. You don't need anybody else to tell you are not the body or you are not the mind. Direct perception. Everybody has this faculty within themselves when you can become aware of yourself and you can understand what you are and who you are and who you are not. So it's very safe to say that I am not the body. I am not the 7 dhatus, the 5 pranas, the 5 cognitive senses, or the 4 mental elements, and also the 5 elements. There is blood in the body, and blood is made up of water. Am I water? No. Am I the fires in the body that creates heat? No. Am I the Prithvi Tattva, the element of earth in the body, which holds everything together, which gives its mass and volume? No. Am I that space in which all this exists? No, you are beyond even that space. So you can come to a conclusion that I am not the 5 elements either. I am not the dhatus, the pranas, the cognitive sense organs, or the 4 mental elements, or the 5, elementals in nature. Then who am I? So after negating all of this as neti, not this, not that, what is left? That self, that awareness, that I am. I am that. When after complete negation we reach a state, where you cannot hold on to anything and you cannot grab anything and say this is what I am. What is left? By direct perception. That is that awareness, that is that consciousness, not the content of consciousness, but consciousness itself. Know that you are that. So what is the nature of this awareness? It is Sat, Chit and Ananda. It is the truth. It exists as it is without any external support. And you experience it as true happiness. So Sachitananda is the truth and it is the very existence. It is life itself. You are life itself. You are not a living entity, but you are life itself. We need to comprehend this again, not just intellectually, but with the deep perception of your own truth. That you are truth itself. You are life itself. And your very nature is happiness, is pure joy, unadulterated joy, pure bliss. Why are you bliss? that unlimited freedom that cannot be expressed in any other words. There is nothing to hold you back. There are no limitations. There is no death. There is nothing temporary. There are no forms to worry about. There is no other to fear or to lust after. What is the state of absolute freedom? When you're completely at peace. That is joy. That is true happiness. So how is this realization of the self to be gained? When you see yourself as you are. You know what I mean? You should see yourself as you are. Without any frills, without any support of the mind or the cognitive ability. Without assumptions, not assuming that I might be like this, I might be like that. No. Direct perception. Unshaken knowledge. And you see yourself as you are. And you abide in your own true state. That is true realization. That is realization. Then the illusory world does not appear. And it does not appear, neither does the ego appear. So the world and the ego arise together and disappear together. They don't exist independent of each other. Without the ego, there is no world. Without the world, there is no ego. When both disappear, then the self appears in its own true, pristine state. The self is not hiding, it does not need to appear. Only your perception is wrong. Only you perceive the rope to be the snake. The rope always exists as it is, as the rope, but you perceive it to be a snake. You perceive the self to be the world. You perceive the world to be real. You perceive the shadow to be real. The reflection of consciousness is not consciousness. The reflection of the self is ego. The ego might appear like the self, like it is true, like it is the truth. But the ego is temporary, ego is illusory. Ego has no basis, thoughts have no basis. They have no foundation. Their substratum is the self. So you might ask, can't illusion and truth exist together like light and shade? Absolutely not. Where there is light, there can be no darkness. There can be no darkness where there is light. If in a dark room you bring in, a candle, the darkness disappears. And where did it disappear? Where did it go? The darkness is only the absence of light. It is not something to be taken out of the room and sent out. It is only absence of light. As soon as light appears, you will see things clearly that there was no darkness in the first place. What we call darkness is only absence of light. What we call the ego is only absence of self-knowledge. What we call bondage is only absence of self-knowledge. Misery is absence of light. Absence of true knowledge of who you actually are. So of course they can't exist together. And what is the way to gain this realization? By knowing yourself through the path of self-inquiry. Know thyself. Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi talks about the path of self-inquiry, with great clarity from direct experience. He says that which rises as I in this body is the mind. If one inquires as to where in the body this I thought rises first, one would discover that it rises in the heart. That is the place of the mind's origin. Even if one constantly thinks I, and keeps going back to the sense of I amness, the sense of beingness. He'll be led back to the place, to the root of this I. And of all the thoughts that arise in the mind, the I thought is the first thought. I arises first and then everything else arises. So I is the root thought. The thinker is also a thought and is the root thought. It's the basis for all thoughts. It is only after the thinker arises that all other thoughts arise. So it is after the appearance of the first person pronoun that the second pronoun and the third pronoun and so on and so forth arise. Without the first pronoun, there will be no second, no third. So without I, there is no you, there is no we, there is no them. Them exists because of I. You exist because of I. The sense of I amness. First comes the sense of I amness. Only when I see myself as I am, then I say you are. Get what I mean? So we need to inquire into this. I am. I keep saying I am, but by the inquiry. So by the inquiry, who am I? This thought, who am I, will destroy all other thoughts. Because we're going to make a habit of taking the mind back to the root. The mind is very externalized. It has a thought and then it keeps building on these thoughts, and thoughts become actions and action become karma, and this is life. We keep going forward, we keep externalizing the whole process. So we build from a small illusion, we end up building mountains of dreams and illusions and whatnot. Whereas you don't need any of those things just to be happy in this moment. You can live in this moment without this entire onslaught of this mind machinery. So the way to change the habit of the mind, mind is so severely externalized and extroverted. To bring it back, we need to keep going back to the root. So every time a thought arises in you, you can ask yourself, who is this thought arising to? Who is seeing this thought? Who is aware of this thought? Who is thinking this? Suppose you're angry and you wild at that moment, you can ask yourself. Instead of asking, why am I angry? I should not be angry. I should be, a calm person and whatever. So instead of going into that, ask yourself, who is angry? If at a moment you're feeling really depressed and really sad, and ask yourself, who is sad? Who is this I who is feeling sad? And actively be in pursuit. Don't just ask that question and let it go. Go to the root of that I. Who is this I? Suppose you say, I am angry. And you ask yourself, who is angry? Who is this I who is angry? And the mind will spill out a few things saying, I am John and I'm angry because the world is not a happy place. Then you have to ask yourself, who is this John? I am a person. Who is this person? I'm a human being, I'm a man. No, keep going. No, we have already dismissed all the elements that we are not. So with this process, keep going back, revert back. And see the sense of I amness. Where is this arising from in the body? From where is this sense of beingness arising? Where is the sense of this feeling of I am? Where is this coming from? Go to that root. Keep going. Come back. Find. This way the mind will go back to its source. And the mind becomes quiet. By practice. It won't happen over 15 minutes or 20 minutes. By practice, by constant practice. We have had the practice of externalizing the mind since childhood and lifetimes together. It's not even just one birth. Constantly we're looking outside for answers. Outside. No, go back. So when the mind that is subtle goes out through the sense organs, it experiences the world, the names and the forms appear. But when it stays in the heart, the root, the names and forms disappear. Not letting the mind go out, but retaining it in the heart. This is called samadhi. You might have to put some effort, but slowly it becomes effortless. The mind starts enjoying the peace, the joy, the silence of the heart. And then, when the mind stays in the heart, the I, which is the source of all thoughts, will go. The I loses its rajasic qualities. The I loses its strength to fight and to keep going out. It becomes passive, becomes relaxed. It enjoys. It realizes the real joy exists in the heart, not in the world outside. And then finally it gives up its habit of externalizing everything, its habit of jumping and attacking everything and being attracted to everything and hating everything. This I stops creating thoughts. This I stops creating illusions. Mind becomes quiet, it subsides in the self. Absolutely. You can say the mind merged into the self. This is self-realization. And the mind becomes absolutely pure. And the ego realizes its own nature. There is only the truth. There is only that I which shines forth. The true I, the real I. It is not the limited I. But you can say the I of God, the I of godliness, of oneness, of non-duality, the formless, eternal, immortal. That which can never be shaken, that which can never be touched, that which does not diminish, that which is full of joy, whose nature is freedom. That I shines forth naturally. It is not something new. It is your natural state. It is not something to be gained. We were running away from it. We were running away from this. This is your own true state. And till the moment this is accomplished, till the moment the questioner disappears, who am I? This questioner, this quest. You will not find answers, but remember that the questioner himself will disappear. Till that moment the questioner disappears, you have to go at it. Keep going back into yourself. Who am I? Where is this sense of I coming from? Keep doing self-enquiry till the mind subsides into the heart and the mind merges in the heart. Keep going at it. Until that time, surrender to this practice and bring in all your energy, everything you have, to answer this one primordial question. Knowing this, you have known everything. You have known all. Doing this, you have done everything that needs to be done. This is liberation. This is freedom. This is joy. This is the greatest achievement, the greatest accomplishment. You are that self. Realize that self. Inquire into the nature of the self. Meditate on the self. Who am I? Who am I? Go to the root. Find out who you are. And there lies the solution to all your problems. Now that is the answer to all your questions. That is the secret of all secrets. That is the most sacred thing. That is the most pure thing. That is the secret of all secrets. Know that and you have known everything. Be that and you are everything. Experience that and nothing else need be experienced.
Do you ever wonder why content creators ask for you to click that thumbs up button and subscribe? It's simple. It truly does help the channel grow by increasing engagement. So please click like, subscribe and share with friends and family. Thanks very much in advance.